go. Finally. Sorry. All right, well, welcome and good morning. It's been a little bit since I've been on the mat. I unfortunately came down with my first ever case of COVID while I was on the road, and I'm still recovering. So today we're going to use a bolster and a pair of blocks for our class. If you don't have a bolster, you can use a couch cushion or a pillow, and blocks can be replaced using a pair of books. So we're going to start actually standing up. We're going to focus a little bit on low back and hips, as well as shoulders. I apologize for the congestion. This is how it's been for 3 weeks now. Thank God I've tested negative, but this is what I'm living with now. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and take your feet nice and wide. We're going to start standing. Toes point out towards the short ends of your mat. So not completely out to the side, but just so that your toes are just pointing towards those front corners. And you're going to bend over and grab that bolster. And here what I'd like you to do is go ahead and take that pillow or bolster right across your pelvis, right across your hips. And with your legs wide, you're going to kind of press that pillow into your belly and fold forward so that you trap the pillow between your thighs and your elbows. So I'm letting my elbows press into my thighs here and letting them rest against that bolster. And all I'm going to do is just rock a little bit forward so the weight goes into my toes, and then walk a little bit back so the weight goes into my heels. So you'll feel a sort of extension of the spine here. And you're just going to gently rock forward and back. And I have my blocks or my books in front of me right now, just in case I feel like I want to put my hands down on them, especially when you're coming back from any kind of sickness or surgery or any kind of time away. You want to move slowly, you want to move thoughtfully, you want to kind of let your body give you a little bit of guidance here. From here, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and base your feet down onto the ground. So that means just press all four corners of both feet down onto the ground. And then what I'd like you to do is press those elbows into the pillow or the bolster that's resting on your thighs. And you're going to just slightly bend your knees so that your tailbone dips. Maybe your head comes up just a little. You'll find a little bit more length in that spine. So I'm really letting my kind of body weight, my shoulders sink. If I turn to the side, you can see I'm letting my shoulders kind of come up towards my jaw, and I'm letting my chest sink in between my shoulders. So really kind of like getting that kind of extension in the back and just bending the knees, and then you can straighten them, and then you can bend them and straighten. So just kind of move, do a little tiny movements here with your feet nice and wide that kind of feel good in that spine, in that back. It's almost like you're resting your elbows on a table using that bolster. Pardon me. And you're just going to shift your hips a little bit back and forth. And then go ahead and lift the tailbone towards the sky. Let your head go towards the mat. Take a couple of breaths and press the thigh bones back. So towards the wall behind you or towards whatever is behind you. Let your head hang heavy. Maybe shake your head no. Shake your head yes. Take a deep breath and see if you can feel your lungs fill up underneath your shoulder blades. Notice if there's any sort of, for me there's a sort of soreness there, like I haven't breathed into that space in a while. To be honest, this is some of my first movement since getting sick. Take a couple of deep breaths and really fill up right back behind underneath your shoulder blades. And then go ahead and what I'd like you to do is just turn your toes more towards the long side of your mat, and all you're going to do is bend your knees and slowly let your hips kind of come to or towards parallel with the earth. You're still letting those elbows kind of rest on that bolster. You're not really holding yourself up. You're just kind of like letting the body hang. And then what I'd like you to do is go ahead and engage your core to lift your upper body up. Let that bolster just fall to the mat, and slowly, slowly, slowly letting the spine unfurl Go ahead and come back up to a stand. Roll the shoulders down and away from the ears. And here, reach your hands down towards your heels, back behind your hips. My palms are facing back. And then go ahead and interlace your fingers. Grip behind the hips. Drag the knuckles towards the earth. Lift the head out of the chest. Little tiny counterbalance here. If you'd like, you can move the head around. Drop your ears from left to right. Notice what that feels like, and then go ahead and release. And then from here, you can just adjust your bolster so that it's going to come underneath your pelvis. If those blocks are still in front of you, just go ahead and walk yourself in front of that bolster, and then come on down to sit. And once you come to sit, go ahead and take your knees wider than your hips and place your blocks on either side of your mat, or of your bolster, of your hips. And from here, go ahead and take a nice long spine. See if you can feel the front of your chest just kind of broaden and open. These are just really easy, kind of simple, very soothing movements to try and get like a little bit of the creakiness out, because I'm definitely feeling creaky. I've been having a lot of hip and low back pain from sort of the inflammatory response that my body's been having from COVID. And so this is slow movement, small movement is a good idea for me right now. And what you're going to do is walk your hands back in towards that crease of your pelvis. So just press down into the thighs, lift the shoulders, lift the spine. Let it like traction your spine like you were doing with that bolster initially. And if you want, just rock back and forth, pressing the heels of the hands into the creases of those thighs just a little bit. And then here, go ahead and drop the chin towards your chest and sort of jut it out so that you're almost kind of chin thrusting forward, stretching the back of the neck, the back of the shoulders. Like I said, that same place where you may feel like you haven't taken a deep breath into in a while. So letting that chin jut forward. So from the side, so you can see kind of what it looks like. Got my hands pressed into my thighs. My elbows are locked and straight. And I'm going to jut my chin forward and down. And feel the stretch into the upper traps, the upper scapula. Take a deep breath here, side out. Let that chin kind of jut forward and down. Take another deep breath, side out, and then go ahead and bring that head back in line with your chest and your shoulders. And release the palms from your pelvis, from your thighs. Just kind of shake out the shoulders a little bit. If you'd like, you can do shoulder circles back, shoulder circles forward, a little shimmy, a little shake. And then from here, go ahead and take your hand down onto that right hand block. You're going to pick up that left knee, point it towards the sky, plant the left foot on the mat. Maybe shift your weight slightly forward. And then from here, I'm keeping my block on its highest setting. You can always turn it down if it feels unstable. But I don't want to do, I'm going to go for a side bend over here. I don't want to go like super deep. So I'm going to keep it on the highest setting. So what you're going to do is just start by taking your left hand to your left knee, press that left knee away, and then slowly start to drop your forearm down onto that block. So here you can kind of walk the heel of the hand down the thigh towards that same junction of your pelvis and your upper thigh and press the thigh bone away. If you want, take a little bit of like a kind of a rock, like you're kind of rocking towards your head and towards your feet, and press that thigh bone away. You'll feel this lengthening into the left side of the body. So you're working to kind of traction that same kind of movement that we were doing when we first were standing up. And if you want, you can look up, you can look down, whatever feels good. And I'm letting kind of my upper torso hang in my shoulder joint right now. Like I'm not pressing the elbow down and away. I'm letting that shoulder come up towards my ear. I'm just doing a little rock. And then go ahead and if you'd like, you can grab hold of that left knee. And if you're feeling sore and tender like I am, I'm going to come up on my left toes and just kind of allow the weight of my left leg to kind of help me come back up to center. Normally, I would say engage your core, lift using your obliques, but I'm feeling a little achy and slow and sore this morning. So go ahead and switch legs. So right knee comes towards the sky, right foot on the mat. Shift your hips slightly forward. Take this sort of mismatched seat on top of your bolster or your pillow. And then you're going to take your hand out to that block on the left-hand side. And again, mine is on its highest setting. Got about a foot from the edge of my bolster to the block. From about my hip to the block is about 16 inches. And all you're going to do is start by gripping on with your right hand onto your right knee. And then slowly let your forearm come down to that block. And then walk that, if you need to adjust your block, but walk that right hand down into the thigh, into that crease, that intersection of the groin, and press the thigh bone away. And again, feel free to move your head and neck around. Take whatever kind of stretch or position feels good in your body right now. Take a few breaths. See if you can really breathe into that right side that's being opened up. This is stuff that, like, if you've been bed bound for a while, or if you've been sort of just exhausted like I have, these parts of us sort of constrict, right? The fascia around all of our body parts, right? All of our muscles or joints, all of it just kind of like shrinks. It's why when you get up in the morning, sometimes you're stiff because your fascia has shrunken, condensed around all of your bits. And when you're in a position for a really long time, that can take a little bit of time to work out. So once again, just kind of rock towards your head and towards your heels. So you're just kind of moving the body up towards the crown of the head and then down towards the feet. And then from here, once you've done that, come to stillness. You can slide that right hand up onto that right knee and slowly, if you like, just pull yourself up. And then from here, we're going to add on something that we didn't do on the other side, but go ahead and twist towards that right knee and twist through the belly. Maybe take your right hand to your right thigh and press down low so that you get a little bit deeper of a twist. So you're twisting towards that knee that's pointed towards the sky. Once again here, take a breath into those upper shoulder blades. And then go ahead and come back to center. And we're just going to switch sides for a second and balance out that twist on the opposite side. So left foot comes to the mat, left knee goes towards the sky. Take your right hand to your left knee. Take your left hand to the top of your thigh. Press into the thigh, pull with your right hand, and twist. Once again, breathe into those upper shoulders, the upper back. And then go ahead and unwind. And then from here, while you're sitting on your bolster, just go ahead and take your feet together, let your knees come wide. And if you need to kind of rock yourself back, feel free to. But here, once again, press those thighs down and away. Find nice long length in the torso. When we've been kind of bedbound or particularly sedentary, that torso kind of compresses, right? All of that body gravity just, right, weighs down on the body. So I'm kind of working on opening up all of this stuff up top. And then go ahead and release the pressure on those thighs. Draw your knees in together, plant the feet, and you're going to actually come down off the bolster. You can just slide it back behind you or off to the side somewhere for right now. And come down to just sit on the floor on flat. And however you want to get situated, feel free to make any kind of adjustments here, but notice what it feels like to connect down onto the mat, what it feels like to get that pelvis down and grounded. For me, there's almost an immediate sense of kind of grounding and calming. You probably hear it in my voice. Just feel a little bit more connected than I did when I first started moving. So you may notice that some of these moves are, well, most of these moves are very unconventional yoga. It's not something that you might learn in a teacher training or see in a mass yoga class. It's because a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right now is really coming from sort of an intuitive sense of what my body needs. And sharing that with you guys helps me process it, if it makes sense. That's why I teach. So once you've come down to sit and just notice that grounding, go ahead and take that right hand off to the right side. Now, if you need a block, if you feel like that ground is too far away, go ahead and get that block underneath your hand. I'm going to try it without the block for right now, see how it goes. Because what I'm looking to do is kind of get deeper into that side bend. So you're going to plant the right hand, drag the elbow towards the ribs, keep that hand planted, and let that left side body kind of open up once again. So a little bit deeper than what we were doing sitting on the bolster. If you want to keep that left hand kind of planted on that thigh, I'm using my fingertips to just kind of press down. You may have longer arms than I do. And with every breath, see if you can like sink into that stretch. And then go ahead and come back through center, however you'd like to come back through center. And if you need that block on the opposite side, go ahead and grab it. But we're going to take that left hand off to the left side, plant the hand, and drop the elbow. So when you press the hand down into the mat, you're then dragging actively that palm back towards your hip. You're not pressing away. You're pulling it towards you so that you're kind of pulling the whole upper body towards the left side. And again, if you want to keep those right fingertips on that right thigh, you can. If you want to let the crown of the head drop towards the palm, open up the side of the neck. We have lots of lymph nodes there, which we're actually going to get into in a minute. Lymph is what helps you move the sticky stuff, right? So like when you've been sick, go ahead and come back to center. If you've been sedentary a bunch, you may get puffy. People tend to notice it in their faces, in their hands. That's just because the lymph is built up and you need to flush it. So that happens through exercise or physical stimulation. We're going to start with that. So get kind of comfortable in your seat, however you want to adjust, or if you need to get a prop. And you're going to find your collarbones and that space right where your collarbones and your neck meet. Right in that soft spot. You're going to just place your fingertips and you're just going to pump 10 times. So you're just going to press in and out. And when you do this, you may notice that like your sinuses start to drain, or like you start to kind of want to clear your throat or swallow. Totally normal. So once you've done that little bit of pumping, you're going to come up right in front of your ears. So right in front of that little triangular part of your ears. And you're going to like just press there and just do that 5 times. And then you're going to go behind the ears into the soft spot, like right behind your ears. And you're just going to press gently. You don't have to press hard, about 10 times. So you're just kind of physically stimulating those lymph nodes right now. And then from here, you're going to take your peace fingers and you're going to start to tap at your forehead along your hairline. And you can use all the fingers if you want. You can use just your peace fingers. I started with my peace fingers. I'm now using all of my fingers. Just tap across the eyebrows, out towards the temples, up towards the hairline. And then come down underneath the eyes, so that orbital ridge, that cheekbone, like you're applying, really nice blush or something along your cheeks. right on those cheekbones, up towards the outer corners of your eyes, out towards the temples. And then tap down into the jaw, that soft spot. So if you open and close your jaw, you feel the muscle, the big master muscle here, opening and closing. Just tap at the edges of that. When we're sick, we tend to clench our jaws. And then you're going to take peace fingers. And you're going to find that place right behind your ears. Once again, elbows go out, and you're going to drag down the sides of your neck towards those places right at the tops of your collarbones. So you do that 5 times. If you have long nails like I do, sometimes it helps to bend your fingers so that you're using your kind of knuckles to move it. And it may feel nice, it may feel a little bit weird. Go slow. This is always a really nice thing to do if, like, when you wake up in the morning and if you have some, like, lotion or something under your hands, it can really be a nice little self-massage. And if at any time you want to clear your throat or cough, feel free to do that. Once you've done that, go ahead and just release and kind of notice any kind of tingling, any kind of sensation that you might have. If you feel like you need to go back in and kind of massage any places, I'm feeling a little bit of pressure at my sinuses here in between my eyebrows. So I'm going to just drag my knuckles along my eyebrows out towards the edges of my eyebrows, down towards my temples. And then underneath in the soft parts of my cheeks, like I'm trying to pull up and away. I did a lot of this while I was laying in bed, just trying to release some of the pressure from being congested. And then from here, go ahead and lower your hands back to your thighs, and we're going to come around onto all fours. So however you'd like to get there, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. And just for a moment, kind of feel the weight of your body into the hands and into the feet. For me, this is like, I haven't been in this position in a really long time, so it feels really like a lot right now, weirdly, which normally it wouldn't. But I think that's just a result of being tired and being sick. From here, let your belly hang low, let your hips go high, so pelvis turns towards the sky. Let your shoulders sink, or rather your chest sink, so that you're kind of like hanging in the joints here. And then start to wag your tail. Notice the weight in your hands, notice the weight in your knees and your feet, in your shins. My shins kind of float because I'm tilting my pelvis towards the sky. If you want, you can tuck your toes underneath to give you a little bit of stabilization. But whatever feels good here, just close your eyes and kind of let the hips sway side to side. Take a deep breath. And then start to kind of like you're trying to draw a circle or an oval with your pelvis. Start to move your hips so that you're tipping your pelvis, your tailbone towards the sky, and then rounding the tailbone towards your heels and sweeping it over. I'm moving towards my left. So really kind of a very precise movement, trying to just control the circle, noticing the flexion and extension in the spine, noticing what feels a little achy, what feels good. And then if you're going one way, see if you can reverse the circle. So like you're trying to draw a circle with your tailbone. It's not really, for me, it's not really a circle. It's more kind of an ellipse. But it's doing a lot of good for my low back and hips right now. So do 2 more circles in the direction that you are going right now. Maybe close your eyes. And then from here, go ahead and come down onto your elbows. Notice how the weight distribution changes. If you want, you can interlace your fingers in front of your forehead. And I'm going to tuck my toes. And here, once again, I'm letting my belly hang low. I'm arching my back. I'm lifting my head towards the sky and just starting to shift my hips left and right. So again, this very slight back bending movement, right? Just kind of working on opening up the front body, because when we're sick, we're coughing, we're sneezing, we're doing all of these things, right? And we're probably watching a lot of TV or reading or laying down. All of our movement is really oriented towards the front body. So doing a little counterbalancing here with some back bending can be really helpful. Take a deep breath and let your body just kind of move however it wants to move. For me, that's just little circles opening into the side ribs, opening into the pelvis, and then letting the body kind of round and coming back to a neutral spine. So engaging the core to lift the belly up, find some stabilization. And then from here, we're going to try a down dog. So take your hands out, tuck your toes, lift your hips, press up and back. Wow, I haven't done a down dog in an eon. Pedal out your heels. Feeling pretty stiff. But again, just kind of notice what's going on for you. What is happening in your body. And what feels good. What you might need. See if you can find some stability, some stillness in your downward dog. And then actively press your hands down into the floor, so much so that your heels shift back. And imagine that someone is pulling from your pelvis up towards the sky. So you're really getting long in the upper body. And then from here, go ahead and come up on your tiptoes, shift your weight so that your left foot can move towards the middle of the mat. And you're going to draw that right knee towards your right wrist, right foot towards your left wrist, and just kind of start to sink the hips down. We're coming into a pigeon here. This may seem like a really big move. If it feels like a really big move in your body, go slow. I'm staying up on my finger pads here, staying kind of up and lifted. My right hip is not on the floor. If you want connection with that floor, grab your block or even your bolster, and you can just tuck that block underneath that hip. But for me, I kind of want to open up, so. And where I'm focusing on opening up is actually the front of my left hip. Like I said, this is a little bit of a back bend move, right? We're opening up that front body, opening up the front hip flexors, opening up the chest, maybe engaging a little bit of the back body here. Seeing if you can like really lift the chest up and out. And then if it suits you, you're welcome to fold over. But for me, since I'm trying to open up the front body, I'm not actually going to fold over. I'm going to stay lifted. And then if you're down, go ahead and come back up to your palms. Walk your hands back in front of you. Tuck your toes. Lift your hips. Press up and back, downward dog. Take another breath. Sink the heels towards the mat. Really lengthen the spine here. Maybe shift the hips left and right. Drop the heels left and right. This doesn't have to be a static pose. In fact, personally, I kind of prefer it to be a more fluid pose, one that we can move in. There's always value in stillness, but I've been still for almost 3 weeks now, and it's time to move a little bit. From here, go ahead and shift your weight over towards the left. Draw your right foot towards the middle of the mat. Step your left knee towards your left ankle, left wrist, and your left wrist towards your right wrist. Or left ankle towards your right wrist, sorry. And then once again, you're down in that pigeon pose again. So however you want to walk your hands back, I'm going to kind of tuck my toes, lift my front of my knee, and just kind of adjust so that I can find a little bit more lift, a little bit more kind of opening into that front body. And I'm really trying to like lift the chest. So I'm walking everything kind of back. Opening up from the pelvis up through the front of the heart. Take a deep breath. And if you want, you can always come down onto your elbows or fold over that front knee. I'm not feeling that, so I'm going to stay lifted. And then if you are down in that position, take a couple breaths. And go ahead and inhale to come back up. Plant your hands. Tuck your back toes. Lift your hips. Press up and back. Downward facing dog once again. Really trying desperately not to cough it right into my microphone so it doesn't blow out your ears. Take a couple breaths. Make any kind of adjustments you need. I seem to be losing my yoga pants today. And then from here, go ahead, lower down to your knees. Shift your hips back towards your heels and come back up to sit. And just let your body kind of reconnoiter, figure out what's going on. Take a couple of breaths. And go ahead and find your blocks. And I'm going to take my blocks on either sides of my thighs. I'm going to walk myself slightly forward a little bit. And what I'd like you to do from here is go ahead and use those blocks, press up, come on up into a tall kneeling position. So your knees are under your hips and your shoulders are over your hips. You got those blocks on either sides of your thighs. You can go ahead and pick those up, roll the shoulders back and down, lift the chest. And then what I'd like you to do is just slowly take that right block back towards your ankle. So it's kind of back behind you. You're going to let that right hand reach down towards that block and go ahead and take that left block. If it's light, reach it towards the sky. So pressing the hips forward, activating through the glutes to lift and lifting that left arm towards the sky. Big front body opening. And then go ahead and exhale and lower that block. Lower your hips towards your heels. Walk that right block back in line with your knees for a second. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. If you'd like, you can rock your hips left and right. It's kind of amazing how much this current version, this bug, takes out of you. Now I'm completely vaccinated, as vaccinated as I'm allowed to be right now. Was about to become eligible for the 5th shot, and I was masked and traveled overseas and had to eat, and I think I got this bug on the airplane, and man, it has been aggressive. And it has been amazing how exhausted I've been. So once you've rocked back and forth, and it's funny because like after doing that back bend, I feel it right now. You're going to come back up to tall kneeling, and you're going to walk that left block back towards your ankle bone. So you can see it's right back behind me. Grab a hold of that right block, and you're going to just take your hand down to that block on your left, press down into the block, and as you lean back, as you lift your chest, go ahead and take that right block towards the sky. Press the hips forward, lift the glutes, so really engaging the glutes, so stabilized. We're not just like hanging out. Take a couple breaths. You can look wherever you want. Really let that right side open up. And then from here, go ahead and lower that right block back down and sit your hips down towards your heels. Just for a moment, close your eyes, maybe let your hands rest on those blocks. Take a couple of breaths. And then from here, go ahead and walk those blocks off to either side of your mat. And take your knees wide, let your toes touch, Maybe adjust your pelvis so that you're kind of lifted and then seated back so that your hips are moving towards your heels. And you're going to come down onto your forearms. And here, just start a little bit of rocking. You can either rock side to side or you can rock top to bottom, so crown of head towards your tailbone. Whatever kind of feels good. You can do a combination of the both. But here, we're just doing a little bit of a rocking child's pose. And I'm keeping my head lifted. I don't really want to get my head below my heart right now. Just not how I'm feeling. If you want something under your brow, under your forehead, you can use your block. And I kind of like this as a nice little prop to use to like massage in between my eyebrows. I've been feeling a lot of pressure and pain here thanks to all this congestion. And you have sinuses right in between your brows. Actually, there's a trick that I'll show you in a little bit that helped me a lot on the flight home while I was still really sick. No longer positive, but still really congested and feeling really crappy. But let your brow bone kind of move across the block as you rock. You can feel the compression in the front of the hips. And then find some stillness, close your eyes, let your heart sink towards the mat. Take a couple of breaths. And just get quiet for a second. Ironically, there's nothing quiet in my house right now. We have our robot vacuum army going. We have 3 months of giant 747s taking off about 150 feet over our house. And then we have our next door neighbors who are doing construction still. Woohoo! But regardless of what you've got going on, noise-wise or distraction-wise in your house, just get quiet and see if you can kind of go inside. And then from here, just go ahead and lift your head off the block. Place that block off to the left or right. And all you're going to do is walk your elbows slightly forward, bring your hips forward, and straighten your legs out so that you can come down onto your belly. Walk your hips back, maybe just rock yourself a little bit. And here we're just going to come into a really easy Sphinx pose. So separate your feet to the corners of your mat. Palms can face down, you can interlace your hands, you can make fists, whatever feels good. Walk your elbows back towards your rib cage and lift your chest, lift your head. Again, and this is more of a passive back bend. We're not like lifting up from the back muscles. We can do that if you want. But here I'm just actually like letting my body kind of rest on the support of my elbows. Keeping my gaze kind of down and forward. Take a couple of breaths. And let that belly widen on the mat. Notice what the contact of the belly button feels like. Notice what the contact of the rib cage, the lower rib cage may feel like. And if you'd like, you can start to kind of sway left and right. And then go ahead, take your elbows wide, let your chest come down to rest. If you'd like, you can stack your fists or rest your forehead on flat hands just for a moment. Go ahead and shimmy the hips. And take a couple of breaths. From here, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and take your right hand off underneath your right shoulder. And what you're going to do is you're going to press yourself down, lift up, rotate that left elbow down underneath your left shoulder. So you're pressing the right palm down. And then what I'd like you to do is go ahead and bend the right knee towards, so that your right heel comes towards your hip. So you're in kind of almost a almost a, gosh, I can't remember the name of this pose, not frog pose. Anyway, rotate that left hand across your chest so that you have sort of a nice big broad kickstand right in front of your chest. And then you're going to reach the right hand back towards your foot, towards your ankle, towards your heel, whatever you got, and draw that right foot towards your right hip. From here, see if you can kind of square the shoulders more forward. This will stretch through the front of the chest, front of the shoulders. If you want, you can look over your left shoulder to kind of deepen the stretch into your neck, into the front of your shoulders. And then go ahead and release. And come back down onto your belly with the hands stack or fist stacks. Let your elbows go wide. Once again, shimmy and shift the hips. Take a deep breath in, sigh out. And then from here, go ahead and take that left hand under the left shoulder and start to press down into that left hand. Take your right elbow underneath your right shoulder and then rotate that right arm, that right forearm across your chest so that you have that nice big kickstand. You're going to bend that left heel towards your left hip. And you can kind of play with the flexing and pointing of your toes if you want to just kind of see what that feels like into the front of your left thigh. And then from here, press down into that right elbow, reach back with your left hand, see if you can grab a hold of your toes, your ankle, whatever you got. And then rotate the shoulders more towards the short end of the mat. So square them up. And then go ahead and release. And lower the elbows. Take those elbows wide, stack the fists once again. Shift the hips left and right, just a little rock. And then from here, all you're going to do is you're going to roll over onto your left side. As you roll over onto your left side, grab that bolster or that pillow that you've got and place it in front of you. So now we're on our left side. Go ahead and prop your head up like you're watching TV, laying on your side. I have watched so many Netflix, really bad, I do not recommend them, Netflix TV shows lately. If you want to know what to avoid, I will tell you, but I spent a lot of time watching Netflix and laying on my side like this. And here, take that bolster so that it's down, kind of from your belly button, down your left leg. Extend that left leg out straight. And let the left rib cage drop towards the mat. Take a few moments here. I have my right foot planted on the mat, my right knee pointed towards the sky. If that's comfortable for you, do it. I'm doing it because it just feels a little bit more grounding into my rib cage and into my right hip, or my left hip rather. And then from here, all you're going to do is drop that right knee onto that bolster that's right in front of you. So nice little supportive kind of place for your right knee. And if you want to move things, you want to kind of scooch things away, feel free to make whatever adjustments make you feel supported in this position. And then from here, take your right hand behind your head. So both elbows are out like you're in a sit-up position. And you're just going to start to roll that right shoulder back towards the earth. Now, I have a block right behind me, which I'm kind of enjoying. So I'm going to actually leverage that and place that block right underneath my shoulder blade and let my head come down. So I'm not in a big twist here, but it's just enough to twist across the upper body and the lower body and just kind of reset everything. So whatever feels good here, turn your gaze towards the sky. You can also use the block lower down on your spine so that it's supporting, say, like the thoracic or the your mid back down to your tailbone. It's a different experience. Or you can completely get rid of the block altogether and let everything kind of drop towards the earth. I'm still going to keep that block up behind my shoulder blades because that is what feels right in my body right now. And when you're recovering from a gnarly virus like this one, finding what makes your body feel pretty okay Really important. So here I have that block right under my scapula, and I can feel that same kind of sensation that I had earlier on of like, oh, I haven't breathed into this space in a really long time, right? Like an ache. So if you have that sensation or you have a sensation like it, see if you can like breathe into it. Yoga doesn't always have to be about, you know, doing fancy poses. It can be just about finding a little relief, especially after dealing with any kind of surgery or any kind of recovery, any kind of physical stuff that's going on. So if at any point you want to get rid of that bolster that's under your knee, you can. Sometimes that'll deepen the twist. Just depends on how you're feeling. For me, I'm not going super deep today. I'm going to keep everything where it is and just kind of sink back. I'm liking keeping my hands above my head. If it doesn't feel right to you, you can always take that right hand down to like your rib cage. But I am liking the stretch, so I'm reaching that right elbow more towards the sky. Or sorry, my left elbow. Take a couple breaths. And then from here, go ahead and release and roll back onto that left side. Prop your head back up. And before you pull that thigh off of that bolster, just go ahead and bend your knees so that your foot comes down to your leg, and then slide that right leg down in line with your left. And take a moment on that side. And then from here, you're just going to roll over. And instead of rolling over, I am going to just switch ends with my head. So however you want to adjust, feel free to. But come down onto your right side. Yeah, I'm really achy. I feel very, very, very slow moving today. I mean, I have for the last bit. But take that right leg out long. Adjust your bolster so it starts at your belly button and runs down the front of your thigh. And if you'd like, you can always plant that left foot down so that your left knee goes towards the sky. And take a couple breaths into the right hand rib cage. And then from here, all you're going to do is just drop that left leg onto that bolster. Make whatever adjustments you need so that you feel supported fully in this upcoming twist. So however you'd like to move or shift, feel free. I'm going to move my microphone because it's pokey. And then if you're using the block behind your head or behind your shoulder blades, go ahead and reach back, adjust it to a place where you think it's good. So I like to nestle it up against the back of my shoulder blades. And then I'm just going to take my left hand to the back of my head, so elbows are wide, and I'm going to start to roll back. So I'm in this reclined twisted pose. And just breathe. Yes, I'm moaning and groaning over here. There's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of experience happening right now. So on this side, I'm not enjoying keeping my hand up by my ear. Feels a little bit activating, and I'm not looking for that right now. I'm just looking for a little bit of ease. So I'm actually going to take my left hand down away from my ear and let it come down back behind me, let the fingertips drape onto the floor, or I could take my left hand to my left ribs, but I'm liking the kind of drapey effect. And see if you can release any places that you might be like holding on, if there's tension, if there's any kind of gripping. Sorry for the coughing. Take a couple of breaths. I actually found that kind of doing these poses in bed really helped release kind of that shrinking fascia stuff I was talking about. Take a few more breaths. And then from here, you're just gonna slowly, slowly, slowly roll back to your right side. And when you're ready, go ahead and bend that left knee so that your left foot comes to your right inner calf. And then you're gonna just slide that left leg out long, make it straight. And for a moment, just lie on your side. If you wanna kickstand it and keep fingertips down in front of you, feel free. If you want to move your hand back behind your back, open up the chest, you can. And then from here, we're going to do a real easy thing. We're just going to roll on our backs. So once you come down onto your back, you can bend your knees, plant your feet on the mat. Take your feet wide, let your knees knock together. Take your elbows wide. I have my hands behind my head, kind of on top of my head, and you're just going to windshield wiper your knees left and right. So if that bolster is in your way or your blocks are in your way, just feel free to scooch everything out. Take up space. And just drop the knees off to the right. And if you find a place where you want to like hang out, you can, and then drop the knees off to the left. So again, just a little bit of twisting, a little bit of rocking, opening up. And then from here, come back to center. Let the back of the pelvis sink towards the mat. Let your knees knock towards one another, and just notice that long, strong connection from the back of the shoulders down towards your pelvis. Tiredness and recovery makes everything, movement, breathing, all of it, just a little bit more difficult. So it can feel really exhausting to do even an hour-long class of just gentle movement like this. And I am experiencing it firsthand right now. I think I'm gonna need a nap after this. But take your feet out long. If you'd like, take one hand to your chest, one hand to your belly. Let your feet kind of flop open. Whatever position they've fallen in is perfectly fine. Close your eyes and see if you can kind of notice the quality of sensation, especially along the back body, right? When we've been sick or sedentary or recovering, we often don't pay attention, or we try to mute some of the messages of our body, right? Because it's painful, it's uncomfortable. But here, just notice the actual contact of the back body to the earth. Take a few breaths. And let your body just kind of settle in. I'm going to momentarily take my knuckles to the space right between my brows and press in on that spot right between the two eyebrows. And then release, and then press my tongue to the roof of my mouth right behind my teeth. And then I'm going to go in and press with my knuckles once again right between the eyebrows, and then press the back of the top of the roof of my mouth with my tongue. And do that a few times, like you're kind of pressing back and forth on a teeter-totter. you have some sinuses here, this is a great hack if you're feeling that congestion in between your eyebrows. This kind of movement can release sinus pressure. And if you're done with that, if you're just resting on the mat, you can stay there, or you can optionally start to bend your knees, wiggle your hands, fingers, toes, start to invite a little movement back into your body. And then from here, just shift your knees over towards whichever side feels good, and come on over onto your side for a moment. Take a nice deep breath on your side. Notice what your body feels like. And then gently roll your shoulders more towards the earth. Press down. Slowly, slowly, slowly start to sit up. And come back into a seated position. So however you want to get there, whatever that looks like, go ahead and find a nice long spine. Close your eyes, soften your gaze. Move your props out of the way. That was what I was doing just now. And take a deep breath in and sigh it out. And then when you're ready, just take your hands to heart center. Let the palms rest against each other. Let your thumbs rest against your sternum as you lift your chest up into those hands. And then bow your head towards your heart. Recognize that your body is incredible. It's healing, it's working through whatever kind of struggles you're dealing with right now. And for a moment, just find a little gratitude for being able to return, being able to do a little bit of movement, being able to kind of dip your toe back into a movement practice that's nourishing and supportive, calming, and helpful. All the love and light in me bows to and honors all of the love and light in each one of you. Namaste. May you heal well.